I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Hey, Rich, when was the last time that you left your roof behind?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Johnny, because I know the answer.
Yeah.
It was the year 2000.
Was it?
And it wasn't my car. It was an Corvette, and we were in America filming.
Yes.
And somebody, for some reason, the roof panel on the Corvette was removed and left by the side of the road. We drove off filming.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting you to have a story, but this is brilliant.
And then it was like, oh shit, obviously it wasn't our car. GM had lent it to us for some filming for old Top Gear in California. And then, of course, the other thing is you go, where were we when we did that? And then we couldn't bloody remember where we'd parked when we'd taken the roof off. So you never... It took ages to figure it out. Then we did get it back.
Oh, you did get it?
But it was a little bit of an awkward moment where it was like, where's the bloody roof? Yeah. Well, fortunately, it was bright yellow, so it was fairly easy to find, and no one had nicked it. So, Johnny, I'm sensing that maybe you have a story about leaving a roof behind somewhere.
Well, guys, listen. Here's the situation. I've just rocked in off of being away for about 3 days on a shoot involving a Caterham. So I've had a beanie on and a neck buff and a technical jacket for most of the last 3 days. Oh, yeah. And also some very small track day shoes.
Of course,
because that's the identikit of Caterham guy. The only thing I didn't have actually. To be fair, I haven't got any late 90s Oakleys on.
I was going to say,
yes.
You didn't decide to.
I haven't. I just haven't.
What about you've not been habitually seen in small drizzle-flecked cafes with some of those hand warmer sachet things clenched in your trembling fists?
Well, actually, that's another part of this conversation because it's boiling hot in this Caterham. I'm amazed and impressed at how toasty I've been. You still need a jacket, and I mean, it
is the summer, in fairness, albeit the shittest summer on record or something.
Yeah,
like that. But
but if you're follicularly challenged like me, you do need some sort of headgear, preferably not a Nürburgring cap because it just looks crap. But anyway, so I had a beanie hat on. But yeah,
What about a Jackie Stewart style tartan hat?
Oh, I'd absolutely love that.
Gaffer taped to your head with a strip of gaff that goes under your chin and back round again so that it stays in place.
Oh, I'd like a sort of Fred Dibner come Goodwood members meeting pit mechanic floppy cap thing that looks like someone's accidentally dropped it in some automatic transmission fluid, and so it basically smells of cat piss.
Yes,
because that's what I swear. Or people go on about AdBlue being pig urine based, or certainly was.
Yeah,
I think the automatic transmission fluid is cat piss. I'm convinced it is.
Well, I mean, but then are they battery farming?
They're farming
cats, just like acres of litter trays and loads of cats.
Yes,
and then they're free
roaming but cats are quite habitual, aren't they? So if you give them an inviting place to waz, they will keep coming back. So take my example. I would just have lots of immaculate duvets next to really nice cat beds or just sheets of newspaper, and every single time the duvet would get hosed.
A huge shed full of expensive and recently purchased armchairs with a beloved jumper on them.
Yes, exactly. So actually I can't remember what I was saying. What was I saying?
The way you dressed up for your Caterham adventure,
Caterham guy,
with lots of heat soak though, so this is the Caterham you've borrowed is the 3-cylinder one.
It's the 3-cylinder one, and I've been away for 3 days in the Caterham, Kei Terham. Good. I had to go first on a barn find to South Wales, and then pick my way from South Wales to North Wales for the shoot yesterday. For a future late break show involving that Caterham. So I thought, instead of Caterham delivering the car to the location, I was like, no, I haven't been in a Caterham for ages, and they are great kind of grin makers. So I'll just drive it. I'll just have a long trip in it, and I'll wedge all my gear into the passenger footwell. It'll be great, and it was absolutely brilliant. But there's some things that have happened in the last 3 days. So as I was driving back last night, and let's just say last night, going from North Wales to around Warwickshire area, unbelievable roads, unbelievable be clear, didn't rain, and crucial, the last bit's quite critical, because I don't drive a Caterham with the roof on because I'm too tall and it's horrible. We've said before, it's like those tents with those pretend French windows in. Yes. Everything's a bit milky and murky, and I just don't.
Do you want to know what it would be like to have cataracts? Well, try looking at the outside world from one of those tents, or indeed anything but the windscreen in a Caterham with the roof on.
Yes, so I only drove it with the roof off. The roof was only put on at night, when you park up to go into a shop or something. And
oh God.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but that's how long does it take to put the roof on?
Well, I don't do it properly because it's such a faff. It's a bit like sort of doing up a shirt and only doing 3 buttons of the 11. You just go, just cut. As long as it basically hangs off me, it'll be fine.
You mean the trying on a shirt in a clothes shop changing room technique, where you just go, oh, fuck it, I'll do the top and the bottom and I'll get a gist of what it's like. That's right.
One middle button just to check whether the stomach is all right, the torso area. Yeah, fine. That's exactly it. But I realised, as I was soldering through last night, just reeling in the amazing roads, I got a text message flash up on my phone. My phone's magnet clamped to the dash with the sat-nav on, so I can look at the corners, because it's my co-driver. I get a text message which flashes up from the videographer, Phil, who goes, Johnny, shit, you've left the roof to the Caterham in the boot of my car. Well, it rained during the course of the shoot, and we switched from bits from car to another car to make sure the footwells were clear for filming. And I went, no. Oh. So I've left the roof in another person's car. So so
you were too far gone by this point to turn around.
Oh, way too far gone. And I was driving at 9/10, Richard. So there was no hope. I was,
some Tillermanship was happening. This is good.
I did some really proud ETA shaving. We've all done ETA shaving, where you type it into the nav and it goes, 11:15 at night, and you're like, no way, that's
not
way
on my
too
watch,
late.
mate.
No, exactly.
No. Yeah,
I'll see your 10:45.
You're just pointing at your navigation, going, no, not having that.
No, exactly. The good thing about a Caterham is, or this one in particular, it's only 660cc, and it's got 84 horses. But it just means you can kind of rinse it everywhere, and you don't have to slow down for much. So you can shave off minutes and minutes and minutes without doing 130 miles an hour and getting banned from driving. It's amazing. And
are you using that old? It's a bit of a car journalism cliche, I think. The carrying momentum.
I was carrying. Yeah,
I
was
during your helmsrightmanship.
I was. I felt like some sort of. I did, honestly. I rolled into town to find the Premier Inn. And I felt like a little bit of a hit. In fact, I burst through the door of Premier Inn carrying all my stuff because I realised I couldn't leave anything in the car because it doesn't have a roof. So I had to bring all my tools from the barn find. I'd put some select tools in, extra pairs of. I had steel-toed shoes because I couldn't drive in those, because you can't drive in a Caterham in anything other than speed booties. And so I was wearing the Tillerman shoes as I ran in. And
someday the Tillerman comes.
I was exceedingly bloodshot eyes from all the wind rush, and I felt like the lady at Premier Inn was just going to put a wreath over my neck and kiss me on each cheek and say, well done on shaving your ETA.
Buy one of those airline-sized bottles of Carver from the vending machine in the Prem lobby, and then just loose it off all over the automated check-in machine.
And just paint the whole foyer until somebody slips over and hurts themselves. Yes, me, yes.
But so, hang on. Presumably this Premier Inn didn't have a covered car park, so you just had to leave it roof off.
I did.
In the elements.
I did.
Crikey.
And so I just locked... I mean, it really, the Caterham roof is a bit like, I don't know, stretching a bag, sellotaping a bag for life over the roof and just going, oh, no one can break into that. But it has got an immobiliser, and I did lock the steering on full lock in an awkward way, a jaunty way. But so some things have happened in the last 3 days. On the way out to South Wales from here, I set aside the afternoon because I knew it was a big journey, 260-something miles. Big journey.
And it's a diagonal journey, that, from you, isn't it? So
it's diagonal, and the weather's been moody.
You've got no motorways, which is fine, I suppose, in a Caterham. You don't want motorways, really.
No, especially in a little-engined Caterham. I mean, you are 1 metre off the ground. It is a metre-high car, and so when you're next to SUVs on 22-inch rims, there is a feeling of vulnerability. And you haven't got radio, so you just make do with just clean helmsmanship and possibly singing certain songs in your head. I don't do music while driving.
Humming. You can't sing, though, because if your mouth's open and a bee comes along, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So humming, really.
Yeah, so humming. And I did.
Bad trumpet impressions.
Well, this thing, because this is turbo, you get you get whistle and you get flutter. It really is vocal on the turbo.
Interesting.
And on the way back, the speedo started showing 160 miles an hour, and then when I slowed down to 30, it went down to 70. So I had no reference apart from the RPM of what I was doing, because the speedo just decided to just stop working. But prior to this, something else on the dashboard stopped working, which caused me some distress.
What else is there on the dashboard?
Well, there's not a lot on a Caterham dashboard, but a Caterham dashboard looks like you've gone into a doorbell shop and then bought some different...
they've got all of their products on this.
Just bought a couple of different styles of doorbell and then stretched some vinyl around it. And I know I'm being naughty about Caterham, but I love this car, okay? So as I was driving out to Wales, I remembered the MPG of this car is 58.4. So it's nearly 60 to the gallon, unless you rinse it, of course. So as I drove, I'd done nearly 200 miles, and the fuel gauge had only gone down to half. I was like, this is amazing! Wow.
Uh-oh.
But it's a K car engine. Yeah, you know what's coming. Yeah. Now, storms were brewing, and it was getting dusk, and I didn't have the roof on. I dodged a few showers on the way down, and over 50, you don't get colder and you don't get wet, and put the heaters are unbelievable. So, but I've been doing that thing of going past services and fuel stations and avoiding doing the wee. I needed a wee, and I thought, I'm not going to stop for a wee because I just want to make my progress, get there, but also I don't want to have to get everything out the car to go into the services for a whiz because there's no security on the car. So just kept pushing myself. 10 more miles, then I'll stop for a nice scenic whiz. Just 10 more miles. And then it got to the point where I was like, I've got to pull over. I pulled over in a very rural lay-by. Left the car idling because I had been squealing it, and I thought I'll let the turbo cool down. And as I climbed up the sort of embankment a little bit, as I was rooster-tailing my waist into the trees, the car started stumbling. I could hear the idle was fluttering and stumbling. I was like, oh, that's a bit odd. And the lights were going a bit dim. And then before I could finish what I was doing, it cut out. I was like, oh, that's not great. Got back in it. Managed to find the USB plug because my phone was down to 9%, and I started panicking about not being able to have any sat-nav in the last 60 miles of rural Wales. Found that, and every time I started the car, it immediately died. I thought, oh no, it's either immobiliser or fuel. But it can't be fuel because I've got half a tank. So I phoned Caterham in a bit of a panic and went, look, I know it's late, but I have an issue. This car's been glorious, but it's cut out and it won't start. And then they went, okay. I said, it's got half a tank of fuel in it. And they went, right, well, how many miles ago did you refuel? And I went, oh, well, I said, I've done about 200 miles. It was full when I set off, and they went, yeah, the range on that car's about 200 miles. And I went, so that'll be that then. And they went, really sorry, we've had a few calibration issues with the gauges on this model. And I was like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. and there I am, stood, seeing this like black Acme cloud looming overhead in these moody Welsh hills. It's dusk, and I'm thinking, I'm nowhere near a fuel station. Nowhere near. What am I going to do? I can't leave this car because it's got no damn roof. But then I hung up on them and said, OK, I'll see what I can do. I hung up on them, Richard, and I looked down into the footwell, and amongst my other shoes and my bag of clothes, I realised I had a spare can of fuel because I was on my way to a barn find shoot, and I had the can of Hope, which is a special fuel can with a fuel pump and everything on board that I use for barn finds, called the Can of Hope. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's got some fuel in it. And I shook it, and it had about 4 litres in it. I'm like, whoa, amazing. So I got it out, but it has no spout. And the Caterham's filling station at the rear is totally vertical. So I realised I tried to kind of slosh it in, and it was going all over my hands and all over my feet.
Oh, God.
So this is not great. So I realised there was only one thing for it. I scavenged around the hedgerows looking for trucker Tizer in bottles and couldn't find any, because I thought I could just use another bottle. I had to empty out my drinks bottle, my flask, shake it out and fill it with petrol, and one flask at a time tip super unleaded into the Caterham. And then it worked straight away, albeit, with a stinky flask. So I managed to get to my destination. I got to my destination. I felt heroic. I mean, it was annoying because I'd lost an hour, but it was great. Really, really wonderful. And I did try and boil water and soak in fairy liquid my water bottle, and 3 boils and washes later, I started drinking out of it again. But it does feel a bit strange, and I think it's given me a headache. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
But so and I'll try and keep this brief because it's not all about me. There's some Caterham based observations. On the way from South Wales to North Wales the day after the shoot, I was really looking forward to this. South Wales to North Wales, scenic routes. It was raining like hell, and I got stuck behind an escorted static caravan.
Oh.
Now, you know how slow that's going. Stuck for an hour and a half. They wouldn't let anyone pass. Hour and a half. And I got hour and a half. It was joyless on really nice Welsh roads, but I just couldn't get by. I got wet because I was going too slow, so all the water came in. So at one point, I just thought, this is rubbish. Pulled in at what was textbook piss vista with some lovely hills. I thought, I'm not staying behind this horrible piece of shit. Climbed the gate, went into the field for an amazing, really euphoric rural wee, and it was destroyed by fly tipping, and I realised lots of bags of poo hanging in the hedge.
What?
Yes, lots of bags of poo, which I think were human, and kitchen roll.
Oh, God.
Yeah, really.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. It's disgusting. People are animals. And the fly tipping were paint cans and a Singer sewing machine on top, which I thought was...
What?
Yeah, I've got imagery. I've got supporting imagery. So that was ruined. And the final thing I'll say is, can't believe the car handles so well considering it's got 155 tyres. When was the last time you drove a sporty car on 155s? Or any car, actually.
Any car.
I
think that's what my old Ford Ka had on it, 155s.
Yeah, I bet it was, actually.
And that was delightful for, sort of four-wheel drifting through roundabouts when it was a bit damp and stuff. But yeah, gosh, that's not much section at all, is it? That's good. So overall, you like the Caterham, apart from calibration issues on the gauges and static caravans on lorries, which aren't really the car's fault.
I absolutely... Yeah, so I had an amazing road ruined by the static caravan, but then yesterday restored everything because I had an epic road home with no rain and managed to do some ETA shaving. I have to point out I do. I love the Caterham. It's honestly, it's probably the best model of Caterham. It shouldn't work, but that engine, it's just wonderful. It's got the most chody of shifters. Honestly, I've never. There's just this Muirhead leather gator, which just looks like, I don't know. It's way too gathered up, and all you see is the head of the stick.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just looked at it and went, "Oh gosh, that's full chody shifter." They've won. They've completely won.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the Caterham. I still think they look rubbish, but I think they are the OG driving reference car, and you cannot die without driving one, because you got to experience it. It's just lovely, and it actually felt very safe. How many miles
did you do in this in total?
650 in the last 3 days. I've done a lot, and I've really lived it.
Yeah,
I haven't been wearing a Craghopper's technical jacket, but I have really been living it. And
are you at the point now when you get back into that car and it just feels like slipping on a familiar pair of shoes?
Yeah, I'm not fazed at all. I'm not fazed by it. If someone said, "Oh, yeah, you've got the Caterham till next Monday. Tomorrow, could you just go to, I don't know, Penzance?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll just go to Penzance as long as I've got a good jumper and a good coat and a good hat, and next to me I did have a cheeky little coffee and a bag of nuts. It's great. Honestly, it's great."
Yeah.
So there.
Good.
So
good.
On that side of things,
cool.
It's a hit.
Now, I saw a picture of this Caterham that you put onto socials, and I was slightly troubled by the colour of it.
Bordeaux red, I think it is.
Is it? It's a very, I don't know. It just doesn't suit that car, I think. And also it's got colour-matched wheels, hasn't it? It's
got colour-matched centres in the rims, yes. I think I would call it kind of silver-haired fox spec, I think.
Yes, that's the thing. It's a bit... Do you know what? It's the colour that the interiors on American hire cars always used to be. Do you know what I mean? In the 80s and 90s and probably into the 2000s, for some reason. Or also, in fact, the colour that the carpet in American, sort of mid-priced American hotels always used to be as well. It's sort of burgundy.
It is burgundy,
I don't know why, but it feels like the US has a long and deep-seated love affair with burgundy-coloured things, which I don't quite understand because it's actually a bit horrible. But
it's like I find with certain cars nowadays, it's luxury versus perception of luxury. They are two very different things. And I think the Americans' perception of luxury for a long time was not really luxury at all.
Yes. Hey, well, now, on that note, slight change of subject.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to talk about, in fact, something I drove a few weeks ago, and I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast, is I borrowed one of those Bentley Flying Spur Edition 12s, the ones that are sort of marking the end of the W12 engine.
Yes.
And they're doing an Edition 12 version of all of the different Continentals, so the Conti GT and the GTC, and then the Flying Spur and the...
Cotta GT, did you just say?
Cotta GT.
I thought you just said Cotta GT. I don't remember that edition.
No. Conti GT. Anyway, I borrowed the Flying Spur. It's a delightful car in so many ways, and I know you're not a massive fan of V12s and things.
It's sweet.
But it's a sweet, sweet car. Well, again, motoring journalist cliches, when people go, "Oh, this car's so effortless," and you sort of go, I mean, most cars are about the same effort to drive, unless you're talking about
a Caterham,
a 50s Land Rover, or a 1970s Unimog or something, or a Group B rally car. Most cars are relatively about the same effort, so it always feels like it's a slightly, but at the same time it does, I know what is meant by that, and the Bentley it's about as easygoing from low speed as any car can be, particularly with internal combustion. And it does sort of then you think actually this kind of Bentley will take well to EV or semi-electrification, because it's very much in the character of the car anyway, just sort of that very easy takeoff. There's loads of torque low down. But what the W12 has is then absolutely loads of wallop as you keep going. It's you decide how quickly the car goes, and it can be either absolutely gentle takeoff if you've got passengers on board, or you can properly mash it off the line and it goes like a stabbed rat. But the reason I bring it up is it was a sweet, sweet car.
I love saying that. It doesn't get boring to me.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No.
Not for us. Maybe for listeners, I don't know.
But we're idiots, so there.
Yeah. But this, so I think this edition 12 is based on the speed spec with, and one of the things you can have with the interior is you don't have to have full leather. You have the centre panels of the seats it's actually a kind of polyester apparently, but based on recycled polyester.
Okay.
So I can't remember what they call it, but it's a kind of, it has a recycled percentage of materials in it. But it just feels like very nice, soft, almost, it's not quite Alcantara, it's more sort of velour-y, like short pile velour.
Oh, that feels lovely.
But the main thing is, it's delightful, it's soft to the touch, it looks nice, but the main thing is you just go, this is nicer than leather.
Yeah.
It's softer, it's warmer, and it's got more grip. So if you are doing a bit of Tillermanship, it holds you in place.
Doing some heavy...
there's more of this.
Heavy palming taking place.
Yeah. But it's one of my favourite bits of that car was the fact that it's just got nice, soft cloth centre parts on the seats.
I agree. I think these things can't come soon enough where recycled, essentially rubbish feels and starts to look more desirable than what was deemed old school class and luxury, because it rewrites that rule book, doesn't it? In fact, I was in a car the other day, mate, and it had some recycled like fishing nets what have been found out of the ocean, and then been woven and like stretched and all that, and put into some material inside a Maserati. I drove a Gran Turismo Folgore.
Oh yeah,
the electric one, and it's really, really good. And the interior did have some newfangled upcycled fabric, and to the touch, it felt like really dense and smooth wetsuit neoprene. Felt lovely and looked good.
Yeah.
And again, it was like totally made from junk, pretty much. And I was totally down with it. I think it had an interesting name, but I can't remember that name, so I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I wish I'd bothered to make a note of this, but Bentley give their recycled cloth material a name, but I think it's a hard sell, isn't it? They probably need to downpedal. If they go, oh yeah, it's made from recycled polyester, people go, ugh.
So what, like vintage clothing, trousers?
Well, exactly, yes. It's all just like really sweaty clothes from the 70s, but it's nice to the touch. And you sort of go, oh, it's also got that recycled part to it, so it's more virtuous than slaughtering a load of cattle for leather. So it's good. Actually, this also reminds me because I've just been on holiday to Majorca.
Have you, mate? Oh,
yeah, I just been to Majorca, or as the locals call it, Mallorca, and it's we had I was going to say Seat Leon. We didn't. We had a Cupra Leon estate as our hire car.
Oh, lovely. They're quite good, aren't they?
Yeah, it was a really pleasant car. And it had, again, cloth seats, which particularly in a hot country is perfect, because they're not absolutely they're not going to sear your thighs when you get back in wearing shorts after it's been parked by the beach.
Pan-fried leg.
So, yeah, that Leon, it's bizarre. And here's the thing that struck me, because they still sell, and I had double-checked this because I was a bit puzzled. I was like, they still sell a Seat Leon estate and a Cupra Leon estate. The Cupra, certainly the one that we borrowed, doesn't have Leon written on the outside, though. It just says Cupra on the boot, along with that stupid badge that looks like an energy drink logo.
Cupron.
And I was like, why? Like, I get that there's now the Cupra Formentor. In fact, we went to Formentor, which is in Mallorca.
Is it?
Yeah. It's the Cap de Formentor. It's a beautiful part of the island.
Did you keep saying it in that way?
I had to stop myself because it's all I could think of.
Because your wife thought you were a complete meat lads.
But here's the thing. about a week into our holiday, my wife suddenly went, "Why is this car called a Cupra? Isn't it a Seat?" And I went, "Yeah, it is. It's complicated." And sort of, I was trying to explain it in as least boring a way as possible, but also not betraying the fact that nobody understands it at all, why they've done this.
No.
And but so I was like, well, for some reason they've come up with this other name, but no one knows why.
It's like Puff Daddy becoming Puffy.
Yes, but he wasn't also still Puff Daddy at the same time, was he? That's the thing.
Oh, yes.
It's one thing to change a name. It's another thing to come up with another name, but to keep this. It just feels like there was a kid at my junior school who suddenly announced that he wanted his nickname to be Spud. And you can't decide your own nickname. It doesn't work like that. So, of course, nobody called him that. But it's the same thing with Cupra.
Yeah, I think Cupra products are really good. But I would like to know how much money they spent on the rebrand or the creation of the sub-brand, because I just can't help feeling like so many car manufacturers just seem to waste a lot of money.
Well, here's the thing, though. This is interesting, because there was a little revelation here, and I said to my wife, I don't know why they've done this. It doesn't make any sense. And she, why have they decided to call some of their cars Cupra, not Seat? And she went, because it's cooler. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, Cupra. I like Cupra. Cupra sounds quite good. Seat. It's weird, particularly because she didn't grow up in this country or indeed in Europe. But she has this sort of perception of Seat as being a bit kind of, yeah.
She's a sharp woman.
Cupra was quite
She's
cool.
immediately sniffed out the issue.
And she's a normal person. She's not a car nerd. So she perhaps reflects more what the real world thinks, and perhaps say it's actually onto something and we don't know what we're talking about. I don't know. Anyway, Cupra Leon Estate, I'll be honest, I don't even know what engine was in it. 4-cylinder turbo of some sort.
Hey,
just like,
ladies and gents.
I was actually going to lift the bonnet to have a look and see if I could figure it out, and then I just couldn't be asked. I was like, no, the metal's hot. I'm not going to do that. It's the middle of the day.
You've done. It's because you're a car journalist who's had a holiday. You're like, nope, exactly. I'm not going to investigate the engine. I'm not going to do that.
No.
I mean,
I think it's probably, I'm going to say 1.5 now in those? Fuck me, I should know this, but I don't.
I'm not even going to comment. All I can say is I took the bonnet off the Caterham yesterday when we were filming, and I put it in a bush. Because I wanted to
drove off.
Because it's so light and just didn't know where else to put it safely. So I put it in a bush, and as I was walking over to the bush, I mean, look, I'm not making this up. I found some ladies' lingerie at the side of the road. We are in the middle of nowhere in Wales. Ladies' lingerie at the side of the road, and it either had Nutella in it or something else. And
oh, God.
Seriously. But I did want to look at the engine, because that Caterham engine is so small. I just keep looking at it going, how can you be so much fun? How can you feel quick when you're so tinsy? I mean, the turbo is like the size of the top of this coffee cup that I'm drinking out of. That is actually a Smith & Sniff coffee cup, I hasten to add, because they exist and you can buy them. I'm just saying, just putting that out there.
Smooth.
Yeah, very smooth, yeah.
Yeah. It's, I suppose, well, what were we saying? Oh, yeah. So, yes, Cupra Leon Estate. No idea what engine was in it. Some kind of 4-cylinder turbo. Had plenty of grunt. It had the DSG box on it. And it was just a very pleasant car. Good steering. Yeah. Good steering ratio.
Yeah.
Which is a strange thing to say, I know. But, some cars have it, some cars don't. But it was one of those cars that I think it was perfectly judged. It wasn't twitchy, but it had... It was fairly quick steering, so you could just sort of pour it into bends and other things that timid people might say.
Well, as you know, I was on holiday about a month ago, and I didn't need a car because I was in a place where they don't really have cars, and that was good because I thought that's a true holiday for me. It's healthy to have a break from these things. However, when being picked up and ferried to our sort of like villary bit within the complex, they insisted on everybody going in this golf cart, which irritates me because I'm always like, are you sure it warrants it? Because like I'm quite happy to walk for a few minutes. Because we have a world obesity problem. But anyway, I got in this long wheelbase golf cart driven by a very friendly chap wearing white robes. and this is the driving around these pathways with manicured gardens either side, and another golf cart's coming the other way with another complimentary, kind of coming to pick up some other guests or whatever, with another guy wearing white robes. And instead of slowing down, we're on a long sweeping corner. Instead of slowing down, because it's quite a narrow path, neither of them slow down. And then we go around the corner and we collide.
What
we do? We have a fairly slow speed golf cart accident, and both cars came to a halt. My children looked at me, and I looked at them, and I just went, "Oh, whoops-a-daisy!" And there was a pause. There was a pause for about 5 seconds, which went on it felt like it went for ages. The guys made eye contact with one another. No words were spoken. No expressions on their face, and then they both waited for the first one to select reverse and come out of the collision. And as they came out of the collision, because you have the meh, little reverse buzzer, the sound of like shattered plastic as they reversed off one another. And then they drove off, and nothing was ever said again. And honestly, it tickled me so much. He did not reference it at all. Didn't say sorry. Didn't say hope you have a good stay. Just basically said nothing, like it had never happened. It was amazing. And now my son, just every time we saw a golf cart during that holiday, he was like, I wonder if they're going to have a crash. Because at night, they don't put the headlights on. What they do...
What?
No, I mean, it makes no sense to me. I'm still baffled. They flash...
No, it doesn't make
when they're coming towards you, like the pedestrians on the pathways, they flash their lights at you to say presumably to say they're coming, rather than tooting the horn in case people are asleep. But then they don't actually have their headlights on. So then they carry on driving. And I'm like, why don't you just put your lights on? Then all the communication is done, and you can actually see. And they were driving along these like little boardwalks out into the sea, where there's some like villas on stilts and things.
Yeah.
And they were nailing it along these rickety little boardwalks, but with no headlights on at night. I was like, oh, what's the worst that can happen here? Oh, I know. You lose it, go into the water in a golf cart, and there's sharks. So it's like, oh, yeah, that's quite serious. Just because you can't be bothered to turn the headlight switch on.
It focuses the mind, certainly, if those are the odds.
But do you know what my son said? Do you know what my son Weston said? He said, Daddy, I know why they're doing that. They're saving the battery, because they're battery powered. And I went, I said, maybe. But I said, do you not think that's sort of like not the bit that you want to scrimp on at night? That's the bit that you do need, isn't it? I would just drive a little slower with full headlights on. I don't know if anyone else has ever had this experience, but it kind of confused and tickled me in equal measure.
Oh my God.
I know. I simply don't understand and all that.
Funnily enough, since this is now what we did on our holidays, that we were staying in this house in sort of rural Majorca, at the sort of top of the island, and a lot of the lanes leading around that area quite narrow. There's a lot of
top of the island
sudden anchoring on to do a slow pass, and I noticed a lot of the locals they're driving around with their driver's door mirror tucked in.
Oh. It's never unfolded.
So they can maintain pace. Yeah, because they're like you don't need it so much on those lanes. But what you do need is to make sure you don't cuff it off when some idiot in a hire car's coming the other way and hasn't quite got the technique right for a mid-speed pass on a narrow lane. So yeah, I was almost like, should I do this? And I was like,
no, don't do that. It's mirror.
Don't want to do this.
Mirror signal manana. I don't know whether that's a thing.
And speaking of hire cars on Majorca, I noticed that there were a lot of... Now, I'm assuming these must be hire cars. They were everywhere. And I can't think why else. It's not like lots and lots of Mallorcans have suddenly gone out and bought these loads of those new Alfa Romeo toenails.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now,
oh, gosh.
That's interesting to me, because it's like that car's only just come out, and they're Alfa, they're already just like covertly dumping them onto Mediterranean hire fleet.
Yes, they are. They are.
They must.
I think they must be, mustn't they?
Do you know the other very prevalent hire cars? Again, saw a lot of new school MGs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A lot of, Link & Co.
Yeah,
that Chinese.
They're big in the Netherlands and a couple of other parts. Yeah. We don't get them.
Well,
yet,
they are the 01, which is their sort of medium-sized SUV. Quite a nice-looking thing. Absolutely loads of them. All the same colour, all, I think, with this interesting blue trimmings on half the wheels and some of the door, like the roof pillars and stuff. And then these other Chinese-made cars, badged as DRs. Have you seen these?
DR?
Yeah, they're Chinese. Now, I did look this up, and of course I've forgotten it, but they're badged DR, which is apparently... and I'm going to look this up. I'm just going to cheat because I can't remember. It's an Italian company that brings in their Cherry, mostly, made cars.
Okay, yeah.
And they rebadge them in Europe as DR. The badges are comically shit because they're too big and they're so obviously stuck on over the top of where the normal badge would go from when it was made.
Why do people do that? And, it's awful, isn't it?
Well, it's so sort of low rent. But yeah, they were everywhere, seeing them all around. I honestly didn't know. It's some sort of smallish SUV seemed to be the main thing. And they're so generic. I was like, are they filming a car insurance advert around here? And they've rebadged
the town.
But they were all over the shop. And I suddenly thought, this is quite interesting. Between the MGs and the Link & Co's and these DRs. Now, all obviously hire cars. Definitely hire cars, because a lot of them had this big sticker in the back window from one of the local hire companies. But this is where suddenly you go, this may be where Euro car makers are more fucked than we thought, because clearly hire companies in somewhere like Mallorca, they just want a cheap, fairly reliable product.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about anything else, really.
No.
And I'm guessing also a relatively cheap, reliable product they can actually get their hands on, which I'm
because of course China has
issues.
Supply is open.
So suddenly it's like with the exception of Alfa Romeo suddenly gone, we'll do you a nice deal on this brand new model that we've been talking up. But otherwise, I think probably hire companies just gone, look, what can we get our hands on that's quite affordable? And here it is, straight from China. So that was, I think, quite interesting. It is
interesting.
I don't know if anyone else has seen this in other parts of Europe on their summer holidays, that have suddenly noticed that this sort of, essentially kind of Chinese-made SUV landfill.
I miss the Suzuki SJ or the wide-arched Vitaras. Hire cars where the back half is a cloth, there's a fabric roof, and it's sort of it kind of fits like NBA trousers. So there's always a lot of slack, a lot of give in the system, and it tends to get a bit of a whip on above about 40 miles an hour and starts flailing the roof.
A textbook 80s and 90s Mediterranean holiday hire car.
Absolutely.
That just doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't, does it? You sometimes see them in people's front lawns.
There were a few Jimneys in Mallorca, actually, but I assume they were locally owned. I don't know if they were hire cars, and of course they were hard roof. They weren't soft top ones, so it's not the same.
I hope we have the Jimny K car engined one, which is the engine out of the Caterham. It has the Jimny motor.
I didn't see loads of interesting cars in Mallorca. I was reminded of when I was a kid. Like, we went to Mallorca when I was quite little. And I remember just being fascinated by all these cars we didn't get at home, like sort of local, Seat 600s and stuff, and Simcas, lots of Simcas.
Or like Renault 5s with a boot.
Yes.
Those really horrible looking things.
I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, they're terrible.
They look awful.
I think that's the one where that was developed in Spain by a sort of Renault subsidiary, and I think they used the windscreen as the back window to save money.
Oh my god! Well, that would explain.
The front and rear glass is the same.
So they look like one of those.
They are quite odd looking.
They look like one of those car trailers that I talked about in a previous podcast, which I'm now getting many DMs about. People sharing pictures and saying, "Oh, you'd hate this," hence why I'm sharing it with you.
We've had quite a few.
And Fiat fullback pickups. There's more than 4 in the UK.
Yes,
there's way more.
Well, are we absolutely sure it's not the same one just being passed around? I mean,
that's true. Actually.
I don't know.
That is true.
Actually, as well. Well, before I forget, we had quite loads of messages while I was away. I suddenly got back and there were loads and loads of messages to the Smith and Sniff email address. And I was like, "Oh bollocks!" Even less chance of us replying to these. But this one,
don't say
made
that.
me laugh out loud. It's a chap called Adam Hayes. You remember we were talking at the live show in Bicester about cars with stickers of other cars on the back because you'd spotted that X-Type
with the Messerschmitt bubble car badge on it. Yes.
Because we were talking about an X-Type and car stickers, this triggered Adam to remember spotting a car. He says this was during COVID times. I found myself in the unfortunate situation of having to drive into London on the M20 in what would have been rush hour if everyone wasn't locked up in their houses. There were very few cars on the road, so imagine my surprise at seeing a truly spent base model X-Type saloon careering past me at breakneck speed. Imagine my greater surprise when I saw how it was decked out. It was grubby silver and smarty-sized alloys. I don't really know what that means, like as in off a smart.
no, like the sweet. They're tiny, so little tiny circuits,
yes.
So really small diameter rims.
Of course, yes, that makes sense. Okay, so it was grubby silver with smarty-sized alloys, with 2 St George's Cross flags sticking out of the rear passenger windows.
Oh, nice.
There wasn't any football happening at the time, so this was pure unadulterated patriotism. The rear window was the coup de grace, however. Brackets, I'm hoping the owner doesn't mind me speaking foreign. Writ large across the entirety of the glass in purple glitter Old West font were the words, "fuck off."
What? Really? Driving around in a car with purple glitter.
Purple glitter Old West font. The words "fuck off." Now, hang on. There's a little extra touch here which I think is delightful. Adam says what really sold it was when the thumbhead at the wheel had to slam on his brakes for a speed camera, and I realised the central brake light had been replaced with one that lit up with the Pornhub logo.
No way! This person's an absolute hero. Who the hell are they? Who is this? Is this? If you tell me that this, if you tell me that the week prior to this, the car had been purchased as the Queen's own car, and then gracefully,
my God,
imagine that. They've just because that didn't sell for much money, I don't think. And someone's put a Pornhub.
Well, it keeps coming up for sale, and I know because we always get sent it, don't we, by people going, "It's up for sale again."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's constantly for sale. That car. I think the Queen favoured an estate, and this was saloon.
This was a saloon.
Who knows? Maybe this was her sort of covert. Because people would go, look at that X-Type with 2 St George's flags flying from it and fuck off across the back window. I bet that's Her Majesty the Queen.
I've got a theory who that was. Was it part of the Joe Biden motorcade that came through London the other week?
Of course.
And Joe Biden, maybe he's far, far wiser than we expect him to be. So instead of doing an official presidential motorcade with all the usual Cadillacs and flags and silly Escalades and stuff that can't...
It draws attention.
It draws attention. So immediately it's pointless, I think.
Yeah.
Instead, he's like, no, I'm going to get a really dodgy Uber that's being driven by a professional, and so while the faux motorcade goes one way, Biden is in an X-Type with England flags,
a silver base model,
and he has no idea that the third brake light is naughty. And
but then
amazing.
Also because the back window having enormous purple glitter Old West style fuck off written on it, that covers the back window so you can't see who's in there.
Of course. So perfect.
Whilst also acting as a deterrent, because you'd go, I'm not going to go and mess with whoever owns that car because they're clearly a nutter.
They're angry. So, they're really angry.
Yeah.
Wow. I was not expecting you to say that.
No, I thank you, Adam, for that message. It was absolutely superb. It really, really made me laugh, and still makes me laugh.
And me.
So to recap, a silver-based Model X Type on tiny alloys with 2 St George Cross flags. Fuck off, written massive letters. Purple glitter as well.
I just don't understand. There's too much to unpack there.
I know. And then the absolute, just a little cherry on the top is that the third brake light has been replaced with one that displays the Pornhub logo, which, as Adam notes, is I don't know if this was a factory option. but seeing as it was an early noughties model, I'm not sure the hub even existed.
Doubtful.
In fact, Adam signs off by noting that this is a truly unique and awful car. In fact, find another.
Saranov. Saranov has got his work cut out.
Saranov swings into action. But thank you, Adam. That's an excellent message. If you know of this X-Type, or in fact, if you own this X-Type, please get in touch. hello@smithandsniff.com. We probably have a lot of questions we need to ask you.
Actually, talking of bad fonts, it's something I've been meaning to bring up for a while, and that is, the new Golf R, so the Mark 8 Golf?
Yes.
The R is such a lacklustre font. It's awful.
It is, isn't it?
It's really awful.
Yes, it's poor. It looks like it's a sort of sixth form art project, art and design, or whatever they call it.
It's clip art Golf R. It's just bad clip. I don't know if you watch at the start of every film. There's all the production companies' logos come up with little animations.
Yes, I'm fascinated by those.
I like them as well because some of them are genuinely cool.
And some of them are genuinely terrible.
Some of them are also grim. Yeah.
Oh, you just drew that on an envelope in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You had a couple of glasses of Chardonnay, and it's just terrible.
Well, that reminds me, the Golf R lackluster font reminds me of the Regency production company, which has a big R, which looks like a sort of like shit italics or shit calligraphy.
Yes, shit calligraphy.
It is, isn't it? It's khaki calligraphy. Yeah. So I just want to say, it's the Germans have been doing this a lot of late. Audi were leading the way for a long time with all of the horrible front wing lettering for V6T and stuff like that, which just looked like they were ordered from Wish and just stuck on with a little bit of 3M torn off and slapped on. It just looked horrible. Not premium.
I was in B&M Home Bargains last week. They've got stick-on silver letters, so I bought a V, a 6 and a T. It looks smashing.
It is, though. It really ruins it for me. It irritates me. So that. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up, again, I won't dwell on it, is while I've been travelling over the last 3 days as Caterham guy, I've obviously realised that the nemesis is caravans and motorhomes, and of course we're in the summer holidays. So, oh my gosh, who designs the decals on motorhomes? Who designs them? Who designs them? Because you can have like a £90,000 really well put together motorhome from a high ranking company, a German one like, I don't know, Heimermobil. And these things are not cheap. And you look at it and go, I bet that's amazing inside. I bet that's really good fun to kind of spend a week in. And then it looks like, again, it just looks like some generic clip art swishy nonsense has just been stenciled onto the side of it. And you just go, who thought that would add value and add panache to it? Because it doesn't.
Panache. Panache is quite a good name for a caravan.
Actually, panache.
Anal panache.
I bet there's got to be a caravan that's a panache. It's got to be. Because I just thought
it's a very caravan-y sort of word.
If you'd just gone and spent 80 grand on a car, and then the dealer went, we're going to put this sort of like sizzle, sort of like stencil line on it, like a swish and then a tick, and then 3 lines that look like a paintbrush has been just pushed across and then lifted at the end like a lick.
Yeah.
Is that okay? You'd go...
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. It's my 11-year-old daughter has just got Microsoft Paint and she really wants to do art at GCSE, so she's going to do some graphics for your caravan.
Yeah.
No, those Heimer ones,
Yeah.
are they the spiritual successor to the Comma van, in that the track is always very narrow to my eyes?
Oh, it's so inboard. I'm glad you pointed that out. Extremely inboard eyes. Yeah, just like if you remember Mumra from the Thundercats. Maybe I'm showing my age. Mumra, the undead. Now, Mumra, obviously a bit dodgy, and I was actually terrified of him as a child. Mumra is an ancient mummy that comes to life and mysteriously has a six-pack. But... his eyes are extremely inboard to the skull, because I actually don't think he has eyes because he's a mummy. But that's what the Heimer that I looked at yesterday that spurred me on to make this note to chat about it. The track was so inboard, you almost had to get on your hands and knees and look for the hubcaps. You just couldn't quite see them.
Yeah, they're in there somewhere.
It was amazing. But I love the overbodied, under-tracked look. I just think it screams adventure and absolutely massive windscreen. Massive windscreen.
Every bend is an adventure of, will it roll over at this point? I'm sure they don't. They're designed better than that. But they look like they might be topply like an old comma. Speaking of the shit R badge on the Golf R, which you're right, that's been bothering me as well. Do you see last week they announced a revised GTI badge to suggest that the GTI will exist when Volkswagens are fully electrified. So they've changed the I to a sort of shit lightning bolt. It's just a really khaki. Again, you just go, who the fuck did this for you? A 10-year-old? It's just not good enough.
Oh, I haven't
absolute amateur hour.
I haven't seen this, and I'm not sure I want to now. I'm really scared that it's going to be.
No, it's just rubbish. It's just I don't know. It's just disappointing. One other thing, we should wrap this up, but one other thing I wanted to bring up just because it's so extraordinary that you sent to me a couple of weeks ago, was it? It was on Twitter. A chap called the Milk Float Man.
Oh, yes. I know the Milk Float guy.
Put a picture up.
He's a great guy. He does a picture of strong trade in smart roadsters.
Oh, does he?
He does,
okay.
Which is obviously not a milk float, but he does milk floats.
He put this on Twitter. He'd copied in you. Now, this is slightly confusing. He'd copied in you, Paul Cowland. It kind of makes sense because he's in the car world. But then he'd also, for some reason, he's copied in Carol Vorderman and Tom Kerridge, the chef. I don't really know why. But it's a picture. The writing says, never bought a vehicle from a naturist before.
Oh, yeah, this one. Yes.
And there's just a stocky chap.
Very stocky.
In boots, but nothing else.
Yes.
Watching an old, I think it's like a sort of, it's a Piaggio Arpe, isn't it?
It is a Piaggio Arpe. Yeah, like it's a barista little three-wheeler barista truck.
I'm just trying to read. I've got this picture up here. And it says on the side, it says on the side, Northern Grind.
I know.
Which takes on an entirely different sense when you see this stout gentleman standing there.
I remembered
entirely starkers apart from some
wearing some real
in a street as well.
He's wearing some proper kind of new age traveller boots, aren't they?
I think they might be, yeah. But it is patently a street. It is not a private area. It is a street. There's a red Mini parked there.
Oh, it's a full street.
At the curb.
Yeah.
And an industrially sort of officey building in the background. And he is pretty much as naked as the day he was born, assuming he was born wearing boots. But otherwise, yeah. It's
watching on the loading process. Watching the
loading process. But the picture, I should say, the man is standing with his back and indeed arse to the camera, so you can't see the rest of his equipment, but he is there very proudly, hands on hips, watching
he is doing hands on hips, isn't he?
being loaded onto a truck with no clothes on. It's just I can't make head nor tail of it, except that I suppose his commitment to the naturist cause is total.
Naturists are never they're never the ones that you want to see naked. I'm just going to say that in my humble opinion.
No, it's funny that, isn't it? I was reminded of this on a holiday that it's a long time since I've been on a sort of Mediterranean holiday, and so you forget about the different attitudes towards, I mean, not full nudity, but certainly toplessness.
Yes,
but it's often a group of older ladies just standing up to their waists in the sea, having a good chat.
Yes,
but with their clocks on display, and it's kind of, you just go, oh, fair enough. I mean,
what about? Did you see? I'm sure you saw some Euro tangas as well on men.
Some Eurotangas, yes. Not as many as maybe expected, but then, I suppose beaches of Mallorca overrun with British people who are not so keen on the tangas.
No, I would say, I think the French are probably the leaders in the old male archliner reveal. Probably south of France, I'm going to say.
Yes, yeah. Good. Well, on that note, we should bring this all to a close. Before we do, I have 3 things to tell you. The first one is that Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Stinky Flask Show, in which Johnny's drinking coffee from a vessel that once contained petrol.
Indeed.
And that's delightful. Of course, there's also The Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos about cars on there. What have we got coming up at the moment? What's just
I actually can't remember. Oh no, I got a lovely barn find of a sweet, extremely rare car was been put away in the early 70s, I think. So a very long time. That's a lovely little charmer. And we recently did the new Nissan Z. I reviewed that off of Californian roads and went to that really cool little morning gathering called the Good Vibes Breakfast Club, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh, right. American car-based breakfast club. So what was that? 2:45 a.m., something like that.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was about 8 in the morning, which I was astonished.
What?
I was astonished. Maybe it's not called the Good Vibes Breakfast Club. Maybe it's called the Good Vibes Dinner Club, but it starts at 8 a.m.
Yes.
And
cool.
I'm not sure. So yeah.
Second thing I've got to tell you is not something I've got to tell you. It's something that you've got to tell people.
I've got to tell people. So listen. Look, guys, please.
Hey,
why don't you come to a show on the 13th of August? So not far away, at Mallory Park. It's the Retro Rides Gathering, which is a really, really good show for pre-2000 mostly cars. Lots of modified stuff, lots of really, really interesting people too. It's one of my favourite shows. We have a late break show, massive enclosure within that. And I'd love to have you along if you wanted to buy a ticket and bring a car to display or not. It's entirely up to you. But if you did, I will put a link in the description in the thing. What am I trying to say, Richard? A link in the Patreon thing.
Oh, do that, yeah.
And, so I'll share it on social media as well. We are on social media.
Yeah.
We've got a Smith and Sniff Instagram and everything. So,
and the third thing I've got to tell you is that Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper was inspired by Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners.
See, I'm not convinced all girls want to do is have fun. I'm just going to...
they want to do many things, just like everyone does, It's
because...
You don't just want to have fun. Sometimes you've got to do a tax return or something. You don't want to do it, but you've got to do it.
Exactly. I need to clean the toilet in the bathroom, but it's not going to be fun.
I suppose that's the thing, you don't want to. But I suppose most people do just want to have fun, but unfortunately, life doesn't really pan out like that.
I'm Caterham guy, and so I have constant fun when I'm behind the wheel, apart from when I have to park up and I realise it takes about 12 minutes of poppers. And I don't mean the drug, I mean actual poppers. I'm not going to do... I think 12 minutes of poppers then driving a Caterham would be a really awful idea. But
you'll be very ruddy-faced for quite a long time.
I think I'll stop talking now,
combination of the two. I think you probably should.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much for listening. We will do this all again next week, but until then, goodbye.
Bye now, love you, bye-bye.
Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. We might do hats soon, we haven't decided. This may come as a surprise, but Smith and Sniff have merchandise. You won't believe your eyes. Smith and Sniff have merchandise. Sadly, we don't do pies. But Smith and Sniff have merchandise. One day we might sell ties. Smith and Sniff have merchandise.
I'm Caterham guy, I've got my technical jacket on, I got my 90s Oakleys on.